This first piece of advice is about how not to take in new anxieties or fears, or how not to add more fuel to the fire to an anxiety that you might already be faced with. And that is to not let other people's anxieties or fears affect you. It's always great to help your friends and listen to their struggles, and the QPR offers mass amounts of advice on how to help the people around you and how to recognise that they're not doing okay. But I think it's also very, very important to not really take that in within your own self. What I mean by this is listen to your friends' worries, give them the best advice that you can possibly give, but don't let it affect you within. Your sailors and your subconscious are constantly waiting for direction. So if they're constantly hearing from other people and the people around you, I'm scared of the dark, or I'm scared of heights, or I'm scared of being in huge crowds of people, then they will start to take that as direction, and they'll start to think, well, I don't want to be part of that. If that person's scared, I don't want to be scared, so let's stay away from that. And you're programming yourself to then feel that exact same anxiety. An example of this is I was never an awkward person. I was always fine in social situations because I love to talk. It's part of the Northern Irish charm in me. I just love to open my mouth and hear my own voice, apparently. So that was always just me. I was always fine with larger groups. I then became really, really, really good friends with a person who I would say was a bit socially awkward, and I was constantly hanging about with them, hearing their sort of issues and struggles with coping with large amounts of people. And for a while I became totally anxious in crowds, and I couldn't figure out where it came from or why all of a sudden it had sort of sprouted on me. But then it clicked, and I started saying to myself, no, okay, that's not my fear, that's not my anxiety. And I started to find the reasoning then for not being anxious within crowds, and started to remember what it was like to not have that anxiety, and it went away. And I know it's not that simple for everyone, and it's not that much of an easy road, but you know what? Sometimes it is, and you need to tell yourself that sometimes it's literally a straight line from A to B. And it's the exact same with your own anxieties. You know, find the reasons why you shouldn't be scared, even if it's so cliche, like if you're scared of spiders and you say to yourself, there's no need to be scared, they're more scared of me than I am of them. You know, just imagine those little spiders quaking in their boots every time you get that fear, and it will start to you will start to feel a difference. Find as many reasons as you can. Listen to other people talk about why they aren't scared of spiders. Live as a person who is not scared of spiders, and you will become that person. This is your captain telling your sailors not to be scared, and you are training your mind with new imagery so that when you hear those trigger words that used to trigger your anxieties, it will trigger positive imagery, because as I said, your mind works in images. And I know that I'm using a spider, you know, and it's a minute fear in comparison to bigger anxieties like social anxiety, but it works in the exact same way. So just one last wee thing to finish. I just want to say that your mind is so powerful, and it should bring you great comfort to know that, you know, no matter how many years you've been thinking that your anxiety controls you, you 100% control your anxiety. And I don't want to get too much into the whole, you know, law of attraction thing, if you've ever heard of it, but they would talk about how you literally attract anxiety just by thinking about it. But I don't want to go there just yet. However, I would strongly advise to read the book The Secret if you are interested, which you should be. I would also like to point out that the one sentence spark, I will explain exactly what the one sentence spark is in a separate video, but it literally does take one sentence to completely change your mindset. I'm going to use an example of my little brother, who hopefully he doesn't mind me using this example. So my little brother used to be petrified of the idea of death and what came after it, the idea of all this darkness and not knowing, you know, what was coming. I'll not get too much into it in case it's any of your guys' fears, but he was absolutely petrified. And I came into his room one day and we were having a conversation about it, and he said, you know what, I think I'm actually kind of over it. And I was like, how are you all of a sudden over this? Like, you were petrified from a very young age of this concept of death. And he said, oh, I was just having a conversation with a girl about it in my class, and she said, well, why are you scared of death? Because even if it is nothing after death, then you won't know, because you'll be dead. And for some reason it just sparked this whole new thing in his brain. He was like, oh yeah, I won't even know what's happening. Like, it really, really helped him, and it literally just completely took his fear away. It relieved his anxiety, and changed his whole mindset when it comes to that fear that he did have for such a long time. So that was just one small example on how the one sentence spark can literally change your whole entire mindset and life. And I will be doing a longer episode with a better example on episode 4. This is episode 2. And in the next episode, I will be sharing a series of metaphors, stories, and tips that have really helped me with anxieties and worries in the past. So thank you so much again for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Road to Nowhere. You can find our first ever video, Road to Nowhere Bridging the Gap, which will explain a bit more about our channel. You can find us on Facebook at Road to Nowhere 19 and Instagram, Road to Nowhere Official. Thank you so much for watching. Stay positive, stay safe, and be kind to each other. Bye.